Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review of Loki Season 2, Episode 4, Heart of the TVA. This is dropping a little bit later than normal just because of some stuff that happened, but that gave me a little bit of extra time to kind of think about the episode, digest it, and really get all my thoughts together. So we're definitely going to get into all the details of what happened. But the first part will be non-spoiler as always. Let me give you a quick synopsis of this issue of this episode. The TVA's loom nears catastrophic failure, but Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie have a plan to stop that. This episode stars Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Gugu Mbatha-Raw as Ravonna Renslayer, Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie, Owen Wilson as Mobius, Tara Strong as Miss Minutes, Eugene Cordero as Casey, and Ki Hugh Kwan as Obi, with Wumni Mosaku as Hunter B-15. Um, Big thoughts, big overall thoughts that are non-spoilery. Man, this was the most high tension episode of the season so far. I think this is probably also the best episode of the season so far. Maybe the best episode of the series. I don't know. I think there was a in season one. There was one where right before the last one, I thought that was really good. So I have very high expectations for the remaining episodes of this show. I really enjoyed not only the performances but like the story coming together. And the meanwhile, they're still managing to surprise us with huge revelations, unexpected turns, closing the loop on some things that we had kind of seen in previous episodes. And I think just a really, really big surprise towards the end of the episode, something I didn't in a million years I couldn't have like put it together. I mean, maybe there's people out there that saw everything that was coming, like everything that happened coming, but I was clueless. I was just in there for the ride and just enjoying the vibes. And boy, this show has good vibes. There's some amazing performances by Tom Hiddleston and Sophia DiMartino, like as they have conversations. Also, Owen Wilson continues to be, to for me, like the linchpin, the heart of the show. And a standout, of course, Ki Hugh Kwan as Obi. Like this character just continues to evolve and grow and get a little bit more depth every episode, and I feel like towards the end of the season is going to be a key player into all this. So really, really cool stuff. Once again, I just love the visuals that, especially in the TVA, I love the visuals that we are given. Just the TVA is such a diverse set of like every floor, every room, it's different, has a different color palette, different vibes to it, different feel to it, which I think the show really excels at. Just exploring that and giving us the best look for the show. And as I mentioned, this show ends in a really strong fashion on this episode. So very excited to see what happens next. So highly recommend you check it out. If you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out. We are about to get into spoiler territory. We're going to go through all the big points of what happened and then try to make some sense of it at the end. So you've been warned. Spoiler warning. Okay, so we pick up where we left off last episode. Miss Minutes shows Renslayer their past. You know, her past with He Who Remains. Renslayer was like the commander of this at the time of this war. She was the commander, and also to me, it feels like the reason that they won this war. And after that, He Who Remains just chose, I guess, yeah, chose to betray her. It's really a betrayal, I think. And he wiped not just her mind, everyone's mind at the TVA. Now, was he conflicted at the time? I believe that there is some conflict within He Who Remains, but I feel like he also just kind of, that was also always going to be his choice. That was always going to be his plan. So I don't feel too bad for him. Now, on the other hand, we also have Victor arriving at TVA along with everyone else, trying to convince him to help. Right. So we have all these parties that they know that Victor is the key to opening that door. I gotta say, Jonathan Majors does very different performances for each of the variants of Kang that we've seen, um, and I think with Victor Timely, he really plays that as to more of a defenseless, just because of the time he's from, right? He doesn't have he has the knowledge, but he doesn't really have the power. He's very much he's a lot meeker compared to the other variants of Kang. He's not as confident. Um, one interesting thing though, he there's a scene where he takes off his jacket because they're working on something, and like Jonathan Majors, he's a large man, and you could just kind of tell even through his old timey clothes, like there's a frame, there's a physique under there, which I found really interesting, especially because he wears those little, like the little things around the arms that they used to wear. Like I don't know what they were for, but like these little bands around your arms and the shirt. So like yeah, you can tell there's a built man under all those stuff. So it's really interesting to see the contrast between what he looks like physically and the way that he is acting. So Obi and Victor meet, and it's just a really good performance. They play off really well of each other. They both have a lot of admiration for what the other one has done, which is really interesting because that's also kind of a loop thing that, He Who Remains or Victor Timely inspired a lot of the work that Obi's doing, whereas Obi also inspired a lot of the work that Victor was reading from the manual. So, yeah, definitely a lot of Ouroboros is a big theme throughout the season. All those loops, the snake eating its own tail. So we also have Sylvie confronting Mobius about not looking into his past, and I think that they made such a big point of Mobius not trying to find out about himself, about who he is, who he's a variant of, that I think he does know. I think in his it's probably something so bad that he doesn't even ever want to address it or maybe even share it with someone. But yeah, I think we're gonna be very surprised that Mobius actually knows exactly who he is and where he comes from, even after all this time. So we also have a really good scene with Hunter B-15 pleading to General Docs to work with the TVA. Right, all the Docs and all the people that were helping her out are kind of trapped in the same room that Brad was put in. They're holding everyone there. And I think B-15 knows that General Docs is very loyal and only wants what's best for the TVA. I think they have a very different approach as to what B-15 had in mind, but the goal is very similar. They're both of them very honorable characters, which unfortunately will come back to bite them in the butt in this episode. Loki and Sylvie also kind of have a heart to heart about fixing the TVA and what their place should be, right? I think Sylvie makes an argument that working at the TVA and running it, they would be playing gods, but Loki reminds her that they are gods. They are as guardian gods. But yeah, great performance between both of those characters. Renslayer also shows up to talk to Docs and the prisoners, and we have probably some of the most off-screen gruesomeness that we've seen. So they bring back that box that Loki used to get Brad to talk, and Docs will not join Renslayer because, as I mentioned, General Docs is an honorable character, and she knows that Renslayer does not have the best intentions for the TVA in mind. So even though General Docs' approach was not correct, I guess you would say, she did have the best of intentions, and she did have, like, the TVA was her main concern. So when they choose not to work with Renslayer, her and Miss Minutes, they put every one of them in the box, and she kills all of them except for Brad, who takes the deal. Right, he just wants to go back to being an actor in the main timeline. Uh, so yeah, everyone, like, that really caught me off guard, how all those characters are going to be thrown aside, which is kind of a shame. The actress who plays General Docs, Game of Thrones, she's doing a lot of things. She's also in the movie The Witch. She's great, and I think her character was actually giving her character a redemption. I think would have been really, really cool. So, as everything continues to break down, Miss Minutes takes control, uh, and we see that she kind of locked everyone out of the building, and this is kind of where we loop back into episode 1, right, when Loki was jumping around, like time skipping. We know that somebody pruned him from behind. I think the big theory was that it was always going to be himself that did that. So we do get to see that scene again from a different angle, right? We have Loki that's trying to fill in the little prune himself to when the light turns green, so that Mobius can get him out of the void. We see Sylvie getting out of the elevator, but this time we also see current Loki pruning past Loki. It's very confusing, but at least we get to see that. We also know who was in the phone. It was just Obi, which is really I think that was a very funny payoff, because it's like sometimes we feel like everything is super high stakes in shows like this, and this show kind of reminds you like we appreciate you paying attention, but like not everything means something, right? I think that's really just kind of taking the piss out of all those people that write down everything. So that was really interesting. So Obi reboots the system to get Miss Minutes out of the out of like control, and as she disappears, she lets Victor Timely know like you'll never be he who remains, like you'll never be on that level, which was pretty rough. Like Miss Minutes has had a time, like it was, man, it was messed up. But Loki and Sylvie now can use magic because the system's been rebooted, so it unlocks everything. We do see that X5 um, it prunes like using magic. Sylvie controls X5 to prune Ravonna Renslayer, so I think in the future we'll see her maybe stuck in the void. Really, like I don't know where that's gonna go really. So they finally get to the main crux of the issue where they have to fix the time loom. The plan's in place. They have Victor ready to go to unlock the door. He does it, but then he also volunteers to be the person that goes out there with the little gadget to try to fix everything. And as he goes out, he just the time radiation like explodes him like spaghetti. He doesn't even get like 2 feet out the door, and he just, which was so unexpected to see this version of this version of Victor Timely. Now he's also off the board. The loom ends up exploding, and we see like as the episode ends, we just kind of zoom in on everyone's face, and we see the despair in their. They've lost, right? They were not able to save the TVA, or at least the current version of it. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes. There's still a lot of trailer footage that we haven't seen in these first 4 episodes. So obviously something's going to happen, and we can speculate. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know who's going to end up on top. I don't know if they're going to be able to fix the TVA, or if they're going to rebuild it. I don't know how this will play out to the larger Marvel story. Which, if it doesn't, I think I'm okay with it, because this show's been so good so far that it doesn't even matter how it feels up building to the next thing. One last thing that I noted: there was a lack of music or like the big fanfare at the end of the closing credits, which was very eerie and definitely continued that mood of like loss and hopelessness at the end of the episode. So very well done. I always watch the credits all the way through, because if there is an after credit scene, I want to kind of go right into it. There was no after credit scene on this one, but either way, I really really enjoyed this episode, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. So we'll definitely stay on top of this. Hopefully next week's video will be just at the correct time. Usually I'll drop the spoiler free the night of. So Thursday night we'll have a spoiler free part of it, and then I'll release the full video the next day. So stay tuned on the channel for all that stuff. Let me know what your theories are down in the comments. I'd love to read them, and maybe go back and do a little video afterwards of like, what did we guess right? What did we guess wrong? What were some things that really surprised us? So as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone.